what is success? What does success look like? I think when we think about success, we think about a destination. Or is it a path? It is a journey. And if it's a journey, what does that say about the destination and the way that we sort of qualified success in our minds to this point? So I've been thinking about success really hard for the last few months or so, because I'm at a point now in my career that I'm sort of looking back and I'm starting to see some of the hills and valleys of my own career. And there have been some surprises. There's been some things about the way my career is going that I wasn't expecting. And I've also been in the process of updating my site and my music and really focusing in on the kind of stuff that I want to be doing and where I'm at in my career and where I want to be going. And as you guys all probably know, that can be a really painful, trying thing. So that whole process has caused me to think again about this idea of success. What does it actually look like? So the first thing I think is that we can just get rid of the idea that success is a destination. There is no like, oh, this is it and we're done. There's no, I've arrived and now we're finished. I think if you talk to anyone, no matter what level they're at or how high they've come in their own career, guaranteed they always feel like they could go further. They look at their work and they think I could do better. I don't think there's a single person in the world that feels like I've done it, I've got it all, and there's nothing more to do or achieve. If we look at success as a journey, I think the picture that a lot of us have in our heads, especially when we're looking outside of ourselves and looking at other people in terms of where they are and what their success looks like, it's kind of like a straight line. You've got success on the one side and you've got your time on the other. It's sort of an improvement over time. Things are just sort of steadily going up. But I think what really happens when you look at any person's career, and certainly when you look at your own life, is what you feel like going from one thing to the next and trying to get to where you want to be going. It's kind of a squiggly line. So you're just sort of going up a little bit and then things kind of go funny and then you might loop back and you might dive down a bit and then come back up again, and you're just sort of trying to find your footing at each point and figuring out sort of where am I right now. If we can accept that, there's something else that I think is really important to think about. At any point, your life is a zoomed in part of that squiggle, right? You don't see the whole thing at one time. When you're in the squiggle, it feels really crazy, it feels really chaotic, it feels really irrational, and you're just struggling to try and make sense of it. But here's the problem. So if we zoom into the squiggle at any given time, you're going to see either a really big uptrend or perhaps a downtrend. And neither of those is really true. And if you focus too much on either one of those things, you can get into trouble. If you're on the upswing and it's trending upwards, you might be under the impression that this is going to last forever, that you're hot right now and you've got all this stuff going on for you, and that, you know, the winds that you're getting are just going to continue coming in. Certainly my experience, and I'm sure it's the experience of everyone else, is that those things rarely last for very long. You've got a certain amount of time at which you're going to trend up, and then inevitably there will come a downturn. But that doesn't mean that that's going to last forever either. Now you've just zoomed into a different part of the squiggle where it feels like everything is just going down. Everything is just on a downslide, and that's where you can get into real trouble in terms of depression and seeing your life as just something that's falling apart. You're really zoomed in right now. What you need to do is try to maintain that perspective and zoom out of that squiggle, and remember that over time things are going to look a lot different than they are in this one moment. So if we're thinking about the idea of success as not being a destination, but as a path or a journey, then you also have to think differently about the idea of problems. No matter where you're at, whether you're at the very bottom or you're at the very top, you don't get rid of problems. You don't get to this magical point in your life or your career where you no longer face challenge, where you're no longer stressed out about something, where you no longer feel instability or some sort of self-doubt about your career or your life. This is just part of life. It's part of a career. And that's just something that I think we all need to embrace more. That the problem isn't that there are problems. The problem is thinking that having problems is a problem. That's one of my favorite quotes of all time. I have no idea who to attribute that to, but it's an awesome quote. This idea that you somehow magically solve problems as a thing and that you get to a certain point in your career at which point you're considered successful and that problems disappear is make-believe. That doesn't exist for anyone that I've ever met or talked to. The other part that's really interesting, and I've noticed this again in my own career, is that when you do have a period of success and you do have some wins, eventually you plateau and you've gained a new altitude in terms of your career. You've got a different perspective. But the problem with that is, just like everything else in life, once you gain that new perspective, after a certain amount of time, that becomes the new normal. And you don't see it as something as wonderful and different and spectacular and magical as you would have had you presented that as an idea to your younger self, let's say. So the successes that I've had in my career, if I were to sort of write up a quick little bio about that and send that back in time to my younger self, I think that person would be absolutely amazed, astounded, and just overjoyed with knowing that that's where he'll get to eventually, right? But now, because I did the work to get there, because I suffered all the setbacks and challenges to make that happen, and now because I'm at that level, it no longer feels the same to me. But that's a perspective thing, right? You have to practice gratitude. You have to have that perspective of seeing your life through somebody else's eyes, maybe. Note down the things. I have this document that I update every year for each year, and it's just called Awesome Things. And that's a document where I just throw every win, every little tiny win, no matter how small, but if it was significant to me, I write it down. And it's amazing how much you forget over the course of a year. And it's nice to remember those little wins too, and to reach out to the people that helped you get those wins and say thank you, and thanks for coming along on the ride with me. All right, thanks for watching as always. Really glad you guys are here. Give me a like if you like this video, and subscribe if you want to see some more stuff. And I will see you guys in the next one.